We're going to continue to have a look at the message sent in by Mr. Big Stones. Now, I know this has gone on for a number of videos, but it does help us to bring back some of the details we have covered in previous videos. And of course, repetition is important, and it shows that the campaign story that we have put forward, the truth, has been constant and has been the same throughout this last 4 years. So we're looking at point number, I'm not sure what it is now, 7 from Mr. Big Stones. And the details, the statement we're looking at now, it's a question actually, a question and a statement, Mr. Big Stones. They won't take Aaron's so-called diesel launderer boss into the equation, or why is he not coming forward to release his so-called employee? Diesel laundering would not get a 2-year sentence compared to 40 years. Right, so a very, very interesting point. And of course, we have covered this on numerous occasions. And the details have been given. As you can see here, this is 155 Concession Road. This is where Aaron was at the time of the modern robbery in Lordship Credit Union. And the whole point of and how the details from 15 Concession Roads was missed is because of An Garda Síochána. Aaron went in voluntarily to the Garda barracks in Dundalk, gave a statement over the course of 2 days. Senior Investigating Officer Mark Phillips and the Garda Jim McGovern, and told them exactly where he was at the time of the murder and robbery. Now, obviously, the caveat is here, these 2 men, you can see here, I put them up on the screen. Mark Phillips was told during the course of the interview with Aaron on the 5th of February 2013 that exactly where Aaron was. So that's not been disputed, that is fact. The man there, Pat Murray, at the phone to his ear, was a senior investigating officer at the time. And he made a decision, and along with, I presume, he sat and spoke with Inspector Mark Phillips. And these men made an absolutely horrendous, appalling, unexplainable, totally unbelievable decision not to go to the yard at 155 Concession Road. Now, on Garda Síochána, these 2 men also had at their in their office at the incident room in Dundalk Garda Station, they had 17 or 18 photographs of this yard with the diesel laundering paraphernalia. These pictures, as we have told the public before, were part of an ongoing family dispute, and they were lodged into the court in Dundalk. So there can be no reason to believe that An Garda Síochána didn't have these from the very beginning. And still we have to beg the question, why did these 2 men here not search the yard of 155 Concession Road? Why did these 2 men here make a decision that I would say again is unbelievable? It is absolutely ludicrous. Unless these 2 men, even at that early stage, had an underlying reason for not uncovering the truth. Why on earth would these 2 men not have sent a team to this yard? Because it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So let's have a look at what Mr. Big Stones is saying here. Now, he's saying, why doesn't the diesel launderer boss come forward? This issue never became an issue, Mr. Big Stones, until 2019. 6 years later, this became an issue during the course of Aaron's trial. And that is because of these 2 men here. If these 2 Garda had to investigate that yard, if these 2 Garda had to go and look for details of who was using the yard, who was renting the yard, who owned the yard, they would have immediately, within the space of 2 or 3 days, with the pressure they were able to bear, and because this yard was now told to them, these two men had been told, this is where we've been told one of their suspects, Aaron Brady, this is where Aaron Brady said he was. And these two men made the decision not to check this yard. And I will say once again, if these two men here had to go and get the yard checked, had to go to the owner of the yard, had to go to the people who had rented the yard from the owner, they would have come across the diesel bus. Now, the situation, Mr. Big Stones, is this. There was evidence, very strong evidence, brought into court in respect of the yard and the lorry that Aaron was loading at the time of the murder and robbery. Two gentlemen did come into court and they give quite detailed account of a lorry that was collected, as you see here, at Dublin Airport, a yard just outside Dublin Airport. It was transported down just outside Castleblaney, where it was unloaded. And that lorry was then taken to the yard where the cubes of waste diesel were loaded onto it. Now, there was a number of telephone calls between the gentleman who transported the lorry from Dublin to outside Castleblaney, and the Gardaí would have had all this information and details at that time had these two men here done their job correctly. If these two men had to have gone to the yard, investigated the yard, they could have, and we've mentioned before, not alone would they have come in contact with the people who are renting the yard and using the yard, and they themselves would have found the people that Aaron was working with and for. And Aaron never gave anyone's name to either of these two men here. And all the more reason that Phillips, it is unexplainable, completely unexplainable why this man here, or how either of them can explain why they did not go and search the yard and investigate the yard. Because they were also aware, these two pictures here, this is of the same trailer, and the details of the trailer given by Aaron is this trailer here loaded with cubes of waste diesel that was dumped at the side of the road. And this was done just, as you can see here, 5 miles from the 155 Concession Road to where the lorry was dumped. So there is provenance from the lorry travelling from Dublin. Phone calls and statements correlate together to corroborate everyone's statement. The lorry then there are other pictures of this lorry half loaded, which Aaron gave details of during the course of his statement. So all the evidence was there. And then this became a very serious issue, obviously, in 2018 going into 2020. So we're into 7 years after the event. And indeed, one of the people who was working with Aaron at the time was of the opinion that he had actually seen Aaron in the yard at that time, or just slightly before that time. So, but Aaron said, no, that wasn't the case. Aaron told the court that when he got to the yard, he had difficulty starting the forklift, and he was in the yard on his own. So the story or the narrative that this yard didn't exist, or that the guards didn't know anything about it, or that these people didn't come forward, it was 7 years after the event. And the Gardaí did have the information that the yard existed. They did have the information that the trailer existed. They did have the information of where the trailer came from. They had all that information, and again, it was suppressed, it was curated, and it was made into a false narrative. Indeed, the DPP, Brendan Graham, tried to suggest that Aaron didn't give the address of the yard, which again is complete and total misleading of the jury and the court. Because Aaron told them exactly geographically where he was. And these two men here, I will repeat this again, complete dereliction of duty is one reason, or else Pat Marry already had made the decision. And this is we know this is correct because Pat Marry, he has been recorded as saying this before, but Marry, in his upcoming book that he's writing with Robin Schiller, Mother at Lordship, tells us that he didn't go to the yard of 155 Concession Road because he knew Brady was in the credit union car park. So just because this idiot had a hunch in his head, he didn't go and look at vital details given by Aaron in the course of his interview with Mark Phillips and Jim McGovern. And I've said this on numerous occasions. There could have been a myriad of evidence there, whether Marry believed Aaron was in the credit union car park or not. I've said it before. There could have been gloves, balaclavas, guns, gun cartridges, cars, parts of cars, paraphernalia from the theft of the paperwork and the money at Lordship Credit Union. There could have been an endless list of evidence sitting at 155 Concession Road if these two men here, and I will say it again, it cannot be explained because they could not be that stupid to consider this a point of interest that should not have been investigated. So this beggars the question, why did they not do it? Because Marry had a preconceived idea for some reason, and we have mentioned this before. He went down a rabbit hole, and 6 or 8 weeks later, after he was having arguments and falling out with his colleagues, and as he describes, the top brass who were wasting time and talking bullshit in Dundalk Garda Station. This is in his new book as well, along with Schiller. He says the top brass were talking bullshit while he needed men on the ground. Well, he must have been listening to the bullshit from the top brass if he wasn't out at 155 Concession Road looking for evidence. And just very quickly, you can see I just highlighted another piece of insight from Pat Marry here in this book. Brady coordinated a campaign of witness intimidation from his cell in Mountjoy Prison. That has never been proven, and it won't be proven because it didn't happen. And Pat Marry's writing this in his book. And this alleged statement from Marry here was at a time after he retired from the case. So he's just making more bullshit up to suit his narrative, and obviously Schiller is happy to write the bullshit. So this book is coming out, I believe, in the first week in May. We very much look forward to it. Unfortunately, I have to read it. I presume it's the same drivel as was pushed out by Marry and Stephen Breen in The Making of a Detective, the podcast series. And again, we've called Breen out, Marry out, and the Star or the Sun, whichever the rag tops it is. We've called these people out, called them liars, and all the information in The Making of a Detective is false, is lies, is a curated narrative to cover Pat Marry's arse because he made such a mess of the initial part of the investigation. So once again, this is the trailer that Aaron was loading at the time of the murder and robbery at Lordship Credit Union. So Mr. Big Stones, there is information there. But it's not Aaron Brady's fault that that information wasn't harvested. It belongs, the fault lies with these two men here. Senior Investigating Officer Mark Phillips and Senior Investigating Officer Pat Marry. These two men made the most grievous mistake. But whether it was a mistake or whether it was done purposely because of their own narrative or because of their own reasons may never be explained. But I will say once again, it cannot be explained what these two senior guards done. A witness tells you where he was and you don't go and investigate the yard. It's complete and utter, as Pat Murray said about the top brass, bullshit. And it is a total disgrace what these two men have done and then tried to cover up their mistakes. And they were allowed to do so, obviously, by Judge Michael White. So, Mr. Big Stones, I know it was a bone of contention with you, but the blame with Aaron is totally incorrect and totally and completely false. Aaron told him exactly where he was at that time. If they had to do their job in any way, shape or form, these two men could have got Mr. Big, as you call him, or Aaron's diesel boss. As simple as 1, 2, 3. So we're nearly at the end of Mr. Big Stone's litany of questions and statements in this message. I think we just one more to do, and we will do that and finish off. I know we're still in the middle of at the start of the trial in relation to the intimidation of witnesses and or the tendency to pervert the course of public justice. So that's where we are with the case, but we still have to continue with Aaron's campaign and reiterating the message we have given all along. The story is made up, the story is curated, and our son has been framed, and our son has been framed by these two men here. Senior Investigating Officer Mark Phillips, Senior Investigating Officer Pat Murray. Thank you. See you in the next video.